Maybe you clicked on this out of curiosity, or maybe, without even realizing it, you were looking for a quiet corner where the words take their time and silence is part of the story. I wrote this with care, like stitching together memories, hurt, and small discoveries, hoping that somewhere along the way, you might see yourself in it. If that happens, even just for a moment, stay. Listen for as long as you want. And if you feel like leaving a little trace, a simple "I'm here" in the comments, or even a quiet like or share, it would mean more than you know. The city was still asleep when I stepped out onto the tiny balcony of my one-bedroom apartment, cradling a chipped mug of coffee that had already gone cold. Morning in Boston's Back Bay usually felt peaceful. Muted traffic hum, the distant call of gulls from the harbor. But that day, there was a heaviness in the air I couldn't name yet. I leaned back in the creaky chair I'd rescued from a sidewalk giveaway, letting the crisp autumn wind brush my face. My mind wandered toward the long day ahead at the tech support center. Another shift of underpaid overtime and customers yelling about Wi-Fi routers like it was a personal betrayal. Then I noticed the envelope. It was sticking halfway out of my metal mailbox below, larger than the usual junk mail, with a glaring red stamp across the front. Final notice, past due payment. A shiver crept up my spine. My rent was paid. My credit card balance was under control. I hadn't borrowed anything big, ever. I tore it open right there on the balcony. Inside was a formal letter on heavy paper, the kind that smells faintly of toner and bad news. Dear Mr. Lucas Miller, this is your final notice regarding your mortgage loan of $200,000. Your account is currently in arrears. Failure to remit payment may result in legal action, including foreclosure and court proceedings. My vision swam. Mortgage loan? I whispered to no one. I lived in a $1,200 a month rental with peeling paint and a perpetually dripping faucet. I flipped through the pages with trembling fingers. Every line stabbed deeper. My full name, my social security number, my entire address history, from college dorms to this apartment. And my signature, scrawled across the bottom of a $200,000 loan agreement. I had never signed these papers, yet there it was, my life, my identity, bound in legal ink I'd never touched. Cold sweat ran down my back. I could almost hear my heartbeat in the still morning air. This wasn't a scam email I could delete. This was real, tangible, a legal time bomb in my hands. Somewhere, someone had taken my name and shackled me with a debt that could destroy my life. As I stared at the letter, the sun finally broke over the rooftops, throwing a golden glow across the paper. It felt cruelly ironic, morning light revealing the start of my darkest nightmare. I didn't even taste the coffee when I lifted the cup to my lips. My hands were shaking too badly. This was not a mistake I could ignore. It was the kind of letter that changes everything. And in that quiet, empty morning, with the city just waking up around me, I realized my life would never be the same. I sat at my tiny kitchen table, the letter spread out in front of me like a crime scene photo. My phone felt heavier than usual as I dialed the customer service number listed in the notice. Each ring tightened the knot in my stomach. Thank you for calling First Commonwealth Bank. This is Amanda. How can I help you today? I cleared my throat. Hi, I just received a final notice about a $200,000 mortgage loan in my name. There must be a mistake. I never applied for a mortgage. There was a brief pause, the kind that feels like judgment. Let me verify some details first, she said calmly, taking my social security number and date of birth. I could hear the clacking of her keyboard. After a moment, her voice changed, just slightly tighter. Mr. Miller, our system shows the loan was funded 4 weeks ago and is already 30 days delinquent. I gripped the edge of the table. Funded? 4 weeks ago? I've never seen a dime. I don't even own a house. The funds were dispersed directly to the title company at closing, she said, the way someone explains gravity. Factual, inescapable. My pulse thundered in my ears. Can you tell me the property address? She hesitated. Sir, normally we can't share that for privacy reasons, but since this is your loan... I could hear her typing again. The property is listed at 82 Maplewood Drive, Willow Creek. I froze. Willow Creek, a quiet, leafy suburb an hour west of Boston. I'd been there only once, to help my younger sister Rachel move into her new house. And then it hit me, a flashback like a knife sliding between my ribs. Rachel standing proudly in front of a 2-story colonial, sunlight bouncing off the freshly painted shutters. She was holding up a sparkling new house key, grinning ear to ear. Her Instagram post had read, "Finally ours. New beginnings." I'd even commented, "Congrats, sis! So proud of you!" But the bank representative's voice dragged me back to the present. "Mr. Miller, are you still there?" I swallowed hard. My mouth felt like sandpaper. "Yes, I'm here." The truth was settling in my chest like lead. Rachel hadn't just bought a house. She had bought it in my name. And now, 4 weeks later, the first bill had arrived. To me. I stared out the window, my reflection faint against the morning sun. And for the first time, I wondered if the sister I'd trusted all my life had just burned my entire future to the ground. The drive to Willow Creek felt like moving through a painting I couldn't appreciate. Tree-lined streets swayed in the late morning breeze. Lawns were perfectly trimmed, mailboxes freshly painted. A golden retriever bounded across a yard chasing a tennis ball. It should have been peaceful, but my chest burned like I had swallowed gasoline. Rachel's house came into view, the same colonial I had congratulated her on weeks ago. 2 flower pots flanked the porch steps, and a pastel welcome home wreath hung on the front door. I parked at the curb, gripping the steering wheel until my knuckles went white. The final notice letter sat on the passenger seat, a silent witness. I climbed out, heart pounding, and rang the doorbell. A moment later, the door creaked open, and Rachel appeared. She wore a loose sweatshirt, hair in a messy bun, holding a mug of coffee like she didn't have a care in the world. "Lucas," she said, her face lighting up. "Hey, I wasn't expecting you. Come in." I didn't move. Instead, I held up the envelope. "Recognize this?" Her smile faltered. Her eyes flicked down to the bold red stamp. Final notice, past due, and the color drained from her face. "Rachel." My voice was low, shaking with a mix of fury and disbelief. "You used my name?" She hesitated, opening and closing her mouth like she was searching for the right excuse. Then she tried to laugh it off. "Don't make this a big deal. We're family. You weren't using your credit for anything, and the bank approved it. So no harm, right?" "No harm?" I snapped, stepping closer. "They're threatening to take me to court. I never signed up for this, Rachel." She crossed her arms defensively, the mug trembling slightly in her hand. I thought you'd understand. I couldn't get approved on my own, and Mom and Dad said..." I cut her off. "I don't care what Mom and Dad said. You stole my identity. You forged my signature." For a moment, she didn't answer. Then her face hardened, and a coldness settled over her features I had never seen before. "You're overreacting. It's done now. The house is ours. If you really loved your sister, you'd let this go." I felt the floor drop beneath me. "This isn't love, Rachel. This is betrayal." She took a step back into the house. "Then maybe you shouldn't be here." Before I could respond, she slammed the door in my face. The wreath shook from the impact. Through the window, I saw her shadow retreating down the hallway. The quiet, picturesque street mocked me. For the first time in my life, I felt like I had no family. Only a debt I didn't make, and a sister who had just turned me into a stranger on her porch. By the time I pulled into my parents' driveway, the sun was setting, painting the sky in soft oranges and pinks. It should have been comforting, but instead, the sight of my childhood home, the white porch, the swing creaking in the breeze, filled me with a dull ache. I clutched the folder of documents against my chest as I walked up the path. My hands were still trembling. Some part of me, the kid who used to run across this lawn barefoot, hoped my parents would finally protect me. Mom opened the door, wearing her usual floral apron, the smell of pot roast drifting out. "Lucas! Oh, honey, come in. Dinner's almost ready." I stepped inside, but didn't smile. "Mom, we need to talk. Now." Her smile faltered when she saw the folder in my hands. In the living room, Dad was half watching a football game. He muted it when I walked in, raising an eyebrow. "What's this about?" I set the final notice on the coffee table and opened the folder, revealing the loan documents and Rachel's forged signature. My name in her handwriting. "She took out a $200,000 loan under my name," I said, voice shaking with anger and hurt. "The bank is threatening to sue me. I could lose everything. She stole my identity." Mom's expression shifted, not to horror, not to sympathy, but to a kind of weary annoyance. "Lucas, sweetheart, Rachel's under a lot of pressure. She's planning a wedding, and the baby, she just needed a little help." I blinked. "A little help? Mom, this is fraud. It's my life on the line." Dad leaned back, folding his arms like he was settling into a familiar lecture. "You're strong. You've always been the responsible one. Rachel, she's different. She needs support. Don't be selfish." The words hit like a punch to the gut. Selfish? I could lose my apartment, my credit, my job, everything, because of her. And you're taking her side? Mom put a hand on my shoulder, her voice soft but firm, like she was soothing a child throwing a tantrum. "Lucas, you've always been our rock. Rachel she's fragile. You can handle this. Please, don't ruin the family over a piece of paper." I pulled back, staring at them in disbelief. "So that's it? I'm just your safety net? The one you can drain dry while she gets protected?" Dad didn't flinch. "Khan is the one we can rely on. Rachel's the one who needs protecting." My chest felt hollow. In that moment, I realized what I had always been to them. Not a son, not an equal, but a shield. A convenient wall for Rachel to hide behind. A name they could gamble with because they knew I'd survive. I left the folder on the table and walked out without touching the pot roast. The laughter of my parents drifted faintly from the kitchen as I stepped into the night, feeling like a ghost in my own family. That night, I didn't cry. I sat on the floor of my one-bedroom apartment, the city lights flickering through the blinds. The final notice lay on the coffee table like a ticking bomb. My heart still pounded from the betrayal, but the tears wouldn't come. Anger burned too hot for that. I thought about my parents' voices, calm, dismissive, telling me I was strong enough to handle it. I thought about Rachel's smirk as she slammed the door in my face. Fine, if they all thought I'd just swallow this, they didn't know me at all. I pulled out a notebook, the kind I used for work projects, and wrote one line at the top. Get my name back. Make it hurt. Step 1. The bank. The next morning, I walked into the downtown branch with the folder of documents and my driver's license. The fraud specialist, a sharp-eyed woman named Megan, listened as I explained the situation. I never signed this loan, I said, pointing at the signature. Compare it to my real signature on file. She leaned forward, scanning the papers. This is sloppy. We'll open an internal fraud investigation today. And if this is identity theft, we'll freeze the account immediately. Hearing that was like inhaling my first real breath in 48 hours. Step 2. The police. I spent my lunch break at the police station, filing a report for identity theft and financial fraud. The officer took my statement seriously, even when I explained the thief was my sister. Family doesn't make it less of a crime, he said, jotting down notes. That line stuck with me. They took copies of the loan paperwork, my ID, and the screenshots of Rachel posing in front of the sold sign. For the first time, I felt the ground under my feet again. Step 3. The lawyer. By Friday, I was sitting across from Janine Marshall, a real estate attorney recommended by a friend. She flipped through the file with a slow, deliberate smile. Lucas, she said finally, you're not just going to get your name cleared. If your sister forged your signature to buy this property, we can petition to seize the house. In the eyes of the law, it's technically yours. I sat back, the knot in my chest loosening for the first time. Rachel wanted to play grown-up games? Fine. As I left Janine's office, I looked out at the skyline, the sun low and golden. In my head, I made a vow, cold and clear. You stole my name, Rachel. I'll take back everything, by the book. For the next 3 months, I became a ghost in my own story. To the outside world, nothing had changed. I went to work every morning, answered emails, had lunch with colleagues, and even called my parents every Sunday like I always did. I let them believe I had moved on. The art of pretending. When Mom asked, "Are you still upset about the house thing?" I laughed softly over the phone. "Oh, that. Don't worry, Mom. I've let it go." Dad sounded relieved. "I told you, you're the strong one." Meanwhile, every time I hung up, I stared at the wall of my apartment, adrenaline buzzing through my veins. I hadn't forgiven anyone. I was building a case strong enough to bury Rachel's fake fairy tale. Collecting the evidence social media goldmine. Every weekend, Rachel posted photos, her sipping wine on the porch swing. A new homeowner's BBQ with balloons and smiling neighbors. Caption, "Can't believe we made it. Hard work pays off." I screenshotted every single post, timestamp and all. Proof of my alibi. I pulled my apartment lease and utility bills, evidence that I was living in my small downtown unit, not the suburban house. Then I requested my work timesheets. The day Rachel signed the loan, I was logged into a 9-hour Zoom meeting with clients in California. Bulletproof, witnesses without knowing. A friendly neighbor in my building, Mrs. Chapman, agreed to write a statement. Lucas has lived here continuously and was home on lunch breaks around the time in question. Every puzzle piece clicked into place. Rachel's growing arrogance. While I moved like a shadow, Rachel thrived in the spotlight. She hosted backyard parties. She posted videos of our first Christmas in our dream home. Neighbors adored her. My parents visited often, glowing with pride. "Your sister is finally settling down," Dad bragged over the phone. "She deserves it after everything," Mom added. They had no idea that while they were drinking wine in that kitchen, I was stacking legal dynamite under its foundation. Foreshadowing the fall. By the end of the 3rd month, Janine, my lawyer, called. "Everything's in place," she said. "We can initiate the claim whenever you're ready. Once we do, there's no going back." I walked to my balcony with my coffee, just like the morning I first saw that final notice, and whispered to the quiet dawn, "The trap is set, and she has no idea she's already inside it?" The courthouse smelled faintly of old paper and disinfectant, the kind of scent that makes you feel small. I clutched my folder of documents as if it were a lifeline, my lawyer Janine walking confidently by my side. Rachel was already there, flanked by our parents. Mom wouldn't even look at me. Dad just shook his head, as if I were the problem. Inside the courtroom, the judge was a tall, stern woman with silver hair and sharp eyes that missed nothing. Janine laid out everything with surgical precision. Screenshots of Rachel's social media bragging about the house. My signed lease, utility bills, and work timesheets. Expert analysis from a handwriting specialist showing my signature on the loan documents was forged. Rachel's lawyer tried to paint it as a family misunderstanding. He argued, my client believed she had her sister's consent. It was a miscommunication, not a crime. Janine didn't even flinch. Your Honor, she said, holding up the loan agreement. This wasn't a miscommunication. It was identity theft and credit fraud, carried out deliberately, leaving my client on the hook for $200,000. The verdict. The room felt like it was holding its breath as the judge flipped through the evidence. Finally, she looked straight at Rachel. Ms. Miller, this court finds you guilty of forgery and credit fraud. The loan is voided under fraud provisions, and ownership of the property is hereby transferred to Lucas Miller, the rightful legal borrower on record. Further restitution hearings will be scheduled. Rachel's face drained of color. Mom whispered, "Oh my God." Dad just stared at the floor. The gavel struck, and the sound echoed through my chest like a final heartbeat of the old life I used to know. The hallway explosion. I barely stepped into the hallway before Rachel lunged toward me, eyes red with rage and tears. "You ruined my life!" she screamed, her voice cracking against the marble walls. I met her glare, my voice steady for the first time in months. "No, Rachel. You ruined mine first. I just took back what was already mine." Our parents didn't say a word. For the first time, I think they saw the daughter they had treated like a spare shield was no longer their silent protector. The morning air in the suburb felt too clean for what was about to happen. I arrived with a police escort and a locksmith, my heart steady but cold. Janine had warned me. Stick to the plan. No shouting, no arguing. Just claim what's legally yours. The knock. The officer rapped on the door with a measured knock. Rachel opened it in pajama pants and an oversized hoodie, mascara smeared under her eyes like war paint. What are you doing here?" she stammered. "Ms. Miller," the officer said firmly, "you need to vacate the property immediately. The court order is effective today." When the locksmith approached with his toolkit, reality hit her. Rachel's face crumpled. "You can't do this! This is my home!" she screamed, voice carrying across the pristine cul-de-sac. The public spectacle neighbors peeked out from behind white picket fences and manicured hedges. Phones were out, recording. Rachel ended up sitting on the front lawn, sobbing, her hair tangled in the wind. "Please, I have nowhere to go," she wailed, mascara streaking down her cheeks. A kid on a bike whispered to another, "Isn't that the lady who always bragged about her new house?" By afternoon, the videos were online. Comments ranged from curious to brutal. "Karma's real." "She forged her sister's name for a loan?" "Unreal." Rachel's picture-perfect suburban dream had burst in front of an audience. The call from Mom. My phone buzzed as the locksmith changed the final lock. It was Mom, voice trembling with tears. "Lucas, please, don't humiliate your sister like this. She made a mistake, but she's family." I stared at the white door, now mine again. "Mom," I said quietly but firmly, "I'm only doing what you and Dad taught me my whole life. Take responsibility for your own choices." I hung up. For the first time, I didn't feel guilty. The house sat quiet for weeks, sunlight pouring through spotless windows. But it never felt like mine. Every corner whispered betrayal. Rachel's laughter, my parents' excuses, the echo of a slammed door. I didn't want to live inside a monument to my family's lies. Letting go. Instead of selling, I posted the house for rent at a surprisingly low price. Within a week, I met Claire, a single mother with a shy 6-year-old daughter clinging to her leg. She hesitated as we toured the home. "It's beautiful, but I can't afford." "You can," I interrupted softly. I offered her a rental rate that was almost half the market price. Her lips trembled, and then she covered her face with both hands. Are you serious? I've been living in a tiny studio. My daughter will finally have her own room. I handed her the keys. I'm just doing what my family never did for me, giving someone a chance when they need it most. Karma in motion. Meanwhile, Rachel and my parents became small-town pariahs. Neighbors avoided them. Old friends stopped calling. The videos of Rachel's meltdown kept circulating online, and whispers followed them in grocery aisles. Dad lost his place in the church committee. Mom stopped posting pictures of family dinners. Rachel tried moving in with them, but even their home felt like a prison of shame. I didn't celebrate their downfall, but I felt balanced. Justice wasn't about revenge. It was about restoring my own peace and passing kindness forward to someone who truly needed it. The voicemails came late at night, always from a blocked number. Mom's voice, brittle and trembling. Honey, we just want to talk. We can fix this. Family shouldn't stay broken. Then Dad's deep sigh. Call us back. Please, we miss you. I listened once, then deleted them all. Because this time, I knew the difference between guilt and boundaries. The email of Freedom 1, quiet morning, my inbox pinged. An email from the bank. Your liability in the fraudulent loan has been fully cleared. The court has recognized you as the sole legal owner. This case is officially closed. I leaned back, exhaling a breath I felt like I'd been holding for months. No more debt. No more fear. No more shadows of my family's betrayal. A sunset and a new start. That evening, I stood on the balcony of my new one-bedroom apartment, a space that was mine, clean of old ghosts. The city skyline glowed in the sunset, and in my hand, the keys to the house I now rented to Claire. I thought about everything they took from me, and everything I had taken back. They used my name, I whispered to the wind, to build a house out of lies. I used the truth to build a future no one can ever steal again. The screen fades to black with soft music. A final text appears. Sometimes, family is the first to betray you, and the last to deserve a second chance. Please, I have nowhere to go, she wailed, mascara streaking down her cheeks. A kid on a bike whispered to another, Isn't that the lady who always bragged about her new house? By afternoon, the videos were online. Comments ranged from curious to brutal. Karma's real. She forged her sister's name for a loan? Unreal. Rachel's picture-perfect suburban dream had burst in front of an audience. The call from Mom. My phone buzzed as the locksmith changed the final lock. It was Mom, voice trembling with tears. Lucas, please, don't humiliate your sister like this. She made a mistake, but she's family. I stared at the white door, now mine again. Mom, I said quietly but firmly, I'm only doing what you and Dad taught me my whole life. Take responsibility for your own choices. I hung up. For the first time, I didn't feel guilty. The house sat quiet for weeks, sunlight pouring through spotless windows. But it never felt like mine. Every corner whispered betrayal. Rachel's laughter, my parents' excuses, the echo of a slammed door. I didn't want to live inside a monument to my family's lies. Letting go. Instead of selling, I posted the house for rent at a surprisingly low price. Within a week, I met Claire, a single mother with a shy 6-year-old daughter clinging to her leg. She hesitated as we toured the home. It's beautiful, but I can't afford. You can, I interrupted softly. I offered her a rental rate that was almost half the market price. Her lips trembled, and then she covered her face with both hands. Are you serious? I've been living in a tiny studio. My daughter will finally have her own room. I handed her the keys. I'm just doing what my family never did for me, giving someone a chance when they need it most. Karma in motion. Meanwhile, Rachel and my parents became small-town pariahs. Neighbors avoided them. Old friends stopped calling. The videos of Rachel's meltdown kept circulating online, and whispers followed them in grocery aisles. Dad lost his place in the church committee. Mom stopped posting pictures of family dinners. Rachel tried moving in with them, but even their home felt like a prison of shame. I didn't celebrate their downfall, but I felt balanced. Justice wasn't about revenge. It was about restoring my own peace and passing kindness forward to someone who truly needed it. The voicemails came late at night, always from a blocked number. Mom's voice, brittle and trembling. "Honey, we just want to talk. We can fix this. Family shouldn't stay broken." Then Dad's deep sigh. "Call us back. Please, we miss you." I listened once, then deleted them all. Because this time, I knew the difference between guilt and boundaries. The email of Freedom 1, quiet morning, my inbox pinged. An email from the bank. "Your liability in the fraudulent loan has been fully cleared. The court has recognized you as the sole legal owner. This case is officially closed." I leaned back, exhaling a breath I felt like I'd been holding for months. No more debt. No more fear. No more shadows of my family's betrayal. A sunset and a new start. That evening, I stood on the balcony of my new one-bedroom apartment, a space that was mine, clean of old ghosts. The city skyline glowed in the sunset, and in my hand, the keys to the house I now rented to Claire. I thought about everything they took from me, and everything I had taken back. "They used my name," I whispered to the wind, "to build a house out of lies. I used the truth to build a future no one can ever steal again." The screen fades to black with soft music. A final text appears. "Sometimes, family is the first to betray you, and the last to deserve a second chance."